Hello, everyone. This is my friend Nato Plays Games. We just wanted to talk about this game, A Beast Inside, which we both played, and he's the only one of my friends who has actually finished it. So it's just an excuse for me to talk about the game and not have to edit a video. So luckily for me, in this case,
all my videos are unedited. That's the way to go.
Yeah, you're smart. If you talk to some of the people commenting on my videos, mine aren't edited either. So,
good thing you put in all that hard work just to be fucking stomped on the face.
Bro.
Yeah. Internet, what a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, the internet. It's a fun place. The Beast Inside. First of all, I noticed you did it. I can't stop doing it. I keep calling it The Beast Within. 100%.
I don't know where it came. I don't know where that came in from, but some other title with Beast or Within I could not stop calling it Beast Within.
I'm not. Is there another game I played called Beast Within?
Something else? Yeah.
I cannot be certain. So, anyways, just a quick
note.
You
brought it up. I
just
thought it was
a quick
just
note.
me.
No, I kept calling it Beast Within. I still to this day keep calling it Beast Within. Okay, so first of all, gameplay. I noticed that you had similar complaints as me about the amnesia style like controls, like opening cupboards, like
it gets finicky at times. It's not. There's some games where you just have to click on it and it'll auto open and stuff like that, which is cool. But this one's a lot more interactive where you have to drag and hold. Hold and drag. And sometimes if you're at the wrong angle, it's not going to happen.
Well, and it's especially in that swamp area, because it's not a very long area. Yeah, but the swamp part before you get to her. But we'll get to it later. But seriously, there are these. I feel like this game does those chase sequences excellent.
Gauntlet runs.
Yeah, you call them gauntlet runs. Yeah,
gauntlet runs, the best part of the goddamn game.
Amazing. And look, but the thing is, they do it really well because you're pretty much on rails. You really only have one real path to go, so you don't die a lot. Like, it's more the tension you get from being chased. You lose a lot of that tension if you die from them and have to do the same part over and over again.
Yeah, then you start thinking left, right, straight. Yeah, you start thinking like that. But if you can complete it in the one run that it was given to you, it's exhilarating as fuck.
Yeah, it feels super satisfying. So, I feel like, especially because you had to grab those little things and open those little gates in that segment. And there were times where I was failing it.
The wheel.
And it's like the controls literally hampered the gameplay for me in that moment. And I feel like
they weren't game breaking though. It just
no, it didn't ruin the game. Finicky. But I would say it
was something to easily get upset about.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're doing something 2 or 3 times over because of the same bullshit mechanic. Yeah. It's aggravating.
And I said in my short video that I made about it that I feel like sometimes they put those kind of features in games because they want to add interactivity into it, because they feel like we don't want to be a walking simulator. And it's like I feel like that game had plenty of puzzle solving and other things to keep you occupied. There were no danger of being a quote unquote walking simulator. To me, it just didn't benefit the game to have those kind of controls.
At no point did I ever feel that I wasn't involved in what was going on. Like you said, some games just put you on the rails, make it a walking simulator, so you just kind of go with the flow. At no point did I feel that I was just being taken for the ride. I felt I was contributing to the ride almost 100% of the game, which was great.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Levels and exploration. I personally, I like the house, the design of the house. I loved how you got the modern day 70s ish, or that era, and
late
then
70s.
Yeah, and then it was you'd flash back to Nicholas's time frame, and you're in the late 1800s, and it's you'd see the same facade, but then it had a different feel to it, and then plus you had the day night, right? For most of the game, playing as Adam, you have the day night.
It kept it really fresh. It really fresh.
And as Adam, you'd be solving puzzles and doing more full on exploration, and you're trying to find Nicholas's journal entries. And then as Nicholas, you're being more like a detective. You're trying to figure out what happened with your father and all that. And so
the whole spiel of it.
So they did a good job of in the beginning you could be I think you would be forgiven if you thought like, oh well, now it's daytime, there's no tension anymore. But it's like,
started to feel that way at the very beginning, but just at the beginning.
Just at the beginning. But then it's like you realize too, it also makes the nighttime that much more tense. Because you'll go to a place, right? And then all of a sudden you'll go back there at night. And then you're like, oh, fuck, it's got a different vibe now. Like, oh, man. I don't know if
it's just me, but I felt like whenever we were going back to Nicholas's time, like the house felt more active, more creaky. Like it just... And not just because it was at night, but just there's a lot more noise and sounds coming off. I don't know if it was because it was
the sound design
time
sound design.
I'm getting real big on sound design lately.
It's just really good.
A lot of these games crush it.
They did a really good job with the soundtrack because it was super subtle, but they would make you feel tense when nothing was happening. Like they really manipulated with you. Like they manipulate the hell out of you with that soundtrack. Yeah. So like already right out the gate you're super tense as soon as you start as Nicholas, and you're like lighting lamps and shit and like candles. And
once the lighting features came in, I kind of panicked, because if they give you a finite resource, it automatically puts me in a bad place, because the first thing my brain starts going into is like, I can't use them, because if I use them and I run out, I'm fucked. I'm not trying to wander around a game in the dark for two reasons. One, it's scary. And two, it's not that fun.
Yeah.
But they gave you so much. That you could play fast and loose and still have and still feel on edge about being in the dark.
It kind of gave you like a carrot at the end of the stick to explore, but at the same time, it wasn't punishing you for utilizing the resources that were given to you. Like I felt the same. I'm the same way as you. Like just in general, like I don't utilize consumables in most games unless I'm forced to.
I don't.
But you don't really have to worry too much about it in this game. So some would say is the survival horror. A lot of those people, like, they want to be like scrounging for supplies and feeling like, and to me that wasn't necessary in this game because it had other things keeping you on your toes. So so I just want to like briefly go over like a story summary, and we'll just go over it chapter by chapter, and we can talk about the things that off the top of our head that we liked about it, or that we didn't like, whatever. Like chapter 1, you start off on that car ride driving up, and Adam's telling his wife about how he's,
Emma,
he basically, good old Emma. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
First chapter, I wanted to fucking.
Oh, dude, I know. I feel like they set you up to not like her, because you're driving up. You're driving up, and he's telling her about what this stressful job is, like a code breaker, and the Ruskies, the height of the Cold War, right? And then so they pull into their new home that was given to them by their family. He tells you he's a code breaker, and you particularly said that you noted how many millennials would fight a battle royale for the house they're talking shit on. Which I thought was hilarious.
It's a decrepit shack, and I'm like,
it's like, dick? I would suck a dick for that house right now.
Yeah, it's like, I've seen worse tree forts go for more money,
And so like a note tells you like that Adam's mom spent her childhood there, and so the house has been in his family for a long time. And then you eventually, she sends you up, she puts you on task. Emma puts you on task immediately, and you had the exact same visceral reaction as me. She's not even showing
a baby bump yet.
Yeah,
and it's just
she's pregnant, but it's like, she's not super pregnant, and she's just
not pregnant enough not to pick a goddamn box or paint a wall.
Yeah, so she's aggro. So they're setting you up, like they're setting you up to not like this woman, right? And so you go up to the attic. They did a great job of that. Yeah, you go up into an attic, you find a box, and then you have your first puzzle, and you solve that puzzle, and then you find Nicholas's journal, and then you start reading the journal, and then it kicks over to chapter 2. Like immediately I was like, oh, I like this puzzle, like, well, because I solved it, so that's why I liked it, because I'm an idiot.
You're making it sound like I didn't solve it.
No. I'm just being honest. Like I like puzzles that I solve.
Oh, I love.
If I can't
puzzles.
solve it, I get extremely agitated very quickly, because like I realize my own shortcomings instantly. So like you find that diary, It's Nicholas Hyde from 1864, and like so automatically like I liked it like because the transition between chapter 1 and chapter 2 was like instantly smooth. And like in general, I feel like that's true of like the whole game. Like you feel
Very
like
much so.
they did a good job of breaking it up like a TV show where it's a logical conclusion to the end of that chapter. Like
They wrap it up real nice and then just move you right along, and you feel really good about going into that transition because you feel like you played enough time as Adam or as Nicholas, and you're ready to go to the next one. To go to the, shit, my bad.
And you
go
get
to the day or go to the night. You know,
and you get involved in the one person, and then you go to the next person and you're like, oh, like I'm not really ready to, and then all of a sudden you start doing them and you get wrapped up, and then you're like, no, I don't want to go back. I want to finish off of this.
Yeah, I very much want to stay in here. But you know it's time to go when you've had that run out. So
but I thought they did a good job with the setup though, initially. Like, and there's no tension really in that first act. It's all daylight. It's just like,
you're
family
boxes,
bickering.
You're getting comfortable with the controls and
just a man and his pregnant wife bickering. That's like the most you get out of it. And then straight off into chapter 2, you're exploring the exact same house you just walked around in, but now you're Nicholas in 1864. The house has a different vibe and totally different in the darkness. You're introduced to the lantern and the matches mechanics, so you can light all the candles, but of course finite materials. But as we said, we later figured out, like, both of us felt the same way. We got plenty of matches at the end, plenty of oil. It's more about just subduing the light, like giving you a reason to have subdued light. So,
and also giving you a reason to explore.
Yeah,
because you think, shit, I have to do all this manually now. So you're gonna have to go find those things, and it puts you in those situations of getting uncomfortable going into a dark, closed area.
And they did a good job with the lighting in this game. So like, it isn't pitch dark.
Sometimes it's just enough where you don't need lighting.
It's just more about obscuring your vision so you can't see far away from you. So there's always that. You're not bumping into a table in a situation where there's, no danger, but it's more about closing you off to what could be just around the corner. And I feel like this game does that perfectly. I like it. And then, so Nicholas is returning to his home after years, and he's trying to piece together the events that led him to leaving this house years ago. And he finds notes that reveal his dad was a successful businessman with dealings with a business partner named George, and had some kind of exchange with a certain Judge Norton, who will later become important. It's also clear that his dad was no funster. He was not a good time.
His dad was a belt-wielding piece of shit.
We'll get to it. Nicholas sees
so bad.
Yeah, and they do a good job of that. You feel bad for Nicholas, and so like as Nicholas, you see a man outside of the window by a well, pointing towards the shed. And in the shed, you find a bloody tarp with an old-timey hat and a basement spelled out in blood, which I was like, all right, that's a nice. I was like, all right, you don't even have to have any next? You don't even have to have any context. If you see basement spelled out in blood, you're like, oh, that's not good. That's not a good time.
Yeah, so a couple alarms go off.
Yeah. There's a newspaper clipping about Judge Norton, who was killed at Nicholas's father's inn. So like, I'm never going to that basement if I find basement scarred in blood at my house, but Nicholas has ice water in his veins. And this is also where Matt shit himself when that person crawled at him down in the basement. Oh, they do that spooky, like, ooh.
That's a top chills moment. I legit almost cried and had to quit the game.
Yeah, and then you missed something that I noticed in my run, which is once you come out of the basement, at the top of the stairs at the landing where you first looked out the window and saw the guy standing there at the well. On my run, I looked up and there's that, that it's not
the clown looking guy?
Beast, the clown looking guy. Yeah,
the one that ran at me under the fucking it's all the same guy put around.
He was standing there like fucking Scarecrow at the top of the stairs, but you didn't look up on your playthrough, and so you didn't see him. And so if you come back around the stairs, you bypass him. So I literally stopped and like stood there for 20 seconds. I was like, fuck,
Waiting for someone to make a move.
I was like, do I keep playing this game? Like, I was like, I don't know. Like, it got me good. And so then you go up, Nicholas continues, and at the top of the stairs, he runs into this beast, the masked man at the top of the stairs, and he knocks Nicholas down to the bottom of the stairs. And you were not terrified by him.
I was not terrified. The guy was 5'7".
Yeah.
Like he comes, like the door opens. I'm bracing
to me,
myself.
I'm like, he was a mountain of a man.
He's a mountain of a man. 4 lanes wide. Canyon arrow. He's the canyon arrow of men. No, but like he opened the door and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like
you went from being terrified.
Oh, God,
everything you were everything was working for you until you saw him like face to face.
Because you were like, I wasn't scared of him anymore.
You were like, this guy is a large guy for 1864, but I'm a 2021 man. I need like
I'm 6'6". Like, so the guy's gonna bump into me right here, and he's like, his top hat's gonna catch me in the eye. So it's
yeah. I feel you. But overall, like, how do you think Nicholas's like opening chapter worked for you?
I thought it was great. Like you said, gathering all the resources and then putting yourself in those situations of uncomfortable. It's like going to the shed. And you're saying when I don't see things, that's very much because I was just trying to see where I had to go. And I wasn't trying to be like, oh, what's no, I wanted none of that.
There was stuff you found I didn't too. Like there was stuff you found that I didn't. When I watched you, I was like, oh, I missed that. How did I miss that? Like
when I was in this shed, I thought there was a glitch because like something appeared next to me near the doorway. And like I was just kind of like, I'm just gonna scoot past this, whatever it is. Apparently there was someone hung in the shed when you turn around to exit the door. I was just at a funny angle, so it just like looked like someone was clipping through. Then I walked out and like the barrel shot out or some shit. I don't know. So I was like, glitches.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like.
But in no way, shape, or form was I trying to look around for extra shit to make myself scared with.
Yeah. Well, it was set up to where if you looked up, you'd notice it, but you just didn't happen to look up when exactly at that moment. So you just bypassed it. But to me, that was like the first scene where I went like, oh my God. Like,
what are you talking about? How did you react when that guy came at you in the basement when you're crawling?
Oh, I shit myself. Like I was fucking terrifying. Like, no. Like that got me too, for sure. That was more like that instant, oh fuck you got me.
Yeah, that was a good jump scare. Man.
But seeing the guy at the top of the stairs, there's something visceral, like where I literally like just stopped in my tracks, and I'm like, my brain knows it's a video game, but they got me. It shut me down for a second. Okay, so
deer in the headlights.
Yeah, so after that, the beast pushes you off and you fall down the stairs, and it kicks back to Adam. And so you're back in the daylight. Again, I like the contrast of the day-night thing.
I did too.
Emma's acting like a real see you next Tuesday, a real ice queen, if you catch me. And so Adam goes to find a flashlight to fix the fuse in the basement, which you constantly forgot you had later. The flashlight, you forgot you had it once you were Adam. You're like, where's my lantern button? Like, it's like,
I'm a lantern man. It's the same button, but I'm a lantern man.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm gonna get spooked, then with some light, I want to be doing this the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. So Adam goes to the shed and to find a single fuse that was missing, but instead he finds bloody footprints and his quantum localizer. And you use the quantum localizer throughout the whole game.
That thing.
Yeah, it's like basically your aid for whatever MacGuffin. Like you're like, all right, I need to find somebody. Localizer. Like I need to track some.
I use it as a security blanket.
Yeah,
I use it as
you were pulling it out for no fucking reason,
dude. It gave me some fucking gusto, man. I was like, all right, yeah, I got this. Yeah.
And so this is when you find the deer in the shed. You're tracking someone, and it's like a Russian operative. That's the potential, right? He's been talking to his boss.
Ruskies, man, yeah.
The Ruskies might be onto him in this remote location. So you find the fuse, and stuff hidden in the deer. And so you're like,
Oh,
okay, so someone's on to him. That's pretty fucking creepy.
That was gnarly.
So he comes back home. He answers his phone with a message from his coworker, like basically saying like, dude, we got to crack this Russian code or they're going to shut us down. Like it. And there's a sense of urgency there. And so that's when you go to work on the Enigma machine. And
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
I solved it, but I feel like I was just lucky they gave me numbers and letters, because then I was able to just look at the numbers and letters and follow the directions. Like you struggled with it.
I'm very much a puzzle man. Puzzle games are my jam. I play them for fun. They're torture to you. I play them for fun.
Yeah.
But that just sunk my battleship, man. I was not having a good time on that shit.
So the moral of the story is Enigma machine. If you don't get it, just look it up. Don't get frustrated. Don't get frustrated.
It's not worth investing more than 5 to 10 minutes trying to figure it out.
I looked up a way simpler puzzle later on in the game, and I will tell you which one it is when I get to. Yes, I looked it up. 100%.
How are you so bad at this?
I don't know. And it was so, once I realized what I was missing, I felt like such a moron. But anyways, so chapter 3 ends as he starts to decipher his code on his Enigma machine. Then we move on to chapter 4, and you kick back to Nicholas, and he's back in the old house having flashbacks about his abusive dad. He's also hinting that he's had hallucinations in the past, and all the crazy things that happen to him.
His stint, right?
Yeah, and all the crazy things that happen to him, they might be in his mind. So you have to start putting that into perspective. When you start seeing a bunch of crazy stuff later on in the game, you're like, is this happening? Or is this Nicholas just being clearly out of his mind? And so he finds a note from a widow from one of his dad's employees who lost her husband in the mine collapse. Yes. And she's very disgruntled and has painful old-timey writing. Like, she didn't do a lot of schooling, you know? And
I read everything out loud for the game, and I had to struggle through that.
Yeah.
It made me stop reading things out loud.
It was realistic. It was realistic, but it also was painful. I can imagine.
Commitment, but go fuck yourself.
Yeah. If you're reading it out loud, I can only imagine you'd feel like you're having a stroke. So
a couple times.
So the guy from the top of the stairs is back in a confined space, but you still have no idea who this might be. You're introduced to lockpicking here, and this is when you said out loud, audibly, "More mechanics," and I loved it. I was like, "This is exactly how my brain was working." I was like, "See, again, lots of mechanics in this game. Don't need the stupid controls." Developers, I know you're not watching my video that will probably get 15 views, but god damn it, you don't need those dumb controls. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, just let me click to open something. Just a simple dab.
It's
especially when you're trying to fight drawers to close one to get the one below it opened up, and it's just
this is also you examine Nicholas's father's belt, and he talks about how his father beat him for imagined wrongdoings and locked him in a dark room alone, and you start really understanding why this guy he even speaks tentatively. The voice actor did a great job. Like, he speaks with a sense of like confused. Like, he's perpetually confused.
He has a lot of detachment in his voice also.
Yeah, and he's perpetually
like, he's
confused.
It, but he doesn't want to feel it, so he just.
You can clearly tell, like, he's not sure what's real or what's not anymore, and they do a good job with the voice acting of portraying that. So like, we find a hidden room in the basement where we see the masked man tormenting the judge in a secret room.
Oh, that pipe! That dude took a pipe to the fucking face. That was dope.
It's I'll tell you what. I'll tell you how many of those pipes I could take to the face. That's a big 0. That's a donut, my friend. I would not handle that very well. So Nicholas escapes the room, and he uses the blood trail from the judge as a guide outside the house. And the trail starts leading towards the inn. And this is when...
This is the ghost. Yeah, that was real fun.
This is when the judge is basically like coming out of nowhere, and this is the only portion of the game where you have a gun, and they give you
Yes.
like
I was so excited.
yeah, they give you like enough ammo, but also not a lot of ammo to deal with him.
They give you enough to want to make your shots.
So
count.
you're basically
you gotta have the headshots.
you're basically heading towards the inn while intermittently the judge will show up, get shot a couple times and disappear, and then return from the darkness every 20 seconds or so.
You gotta scout a little bit
you
for
just-
bullets too.
Yeah, so you gotta like make your way to the inn while scrounging for ammo, and then it all culminates in a boss fight with him at the end, which is
more
more mechanics. Yeah,
I loved it because he had stages in his boss fight too, which I thought was great.
It was
and
not...
he had different. He had close attacks. He had AOE's. He had a variety of attacks lined up, and he also had that one Bloodborne boss thing where everything goes dark and then he's chasing you.
Yeah,
that shit was dope. Like it was a very fun boss fight.
Mechanically, it was simple. It wasn't anything crazy, and but it changed things up, and so I feel like it was well done. You know what I mean? Like
a boss fight in a horror game threw me off a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd run into that yet outside of Resident Evil, of course.
But if they had one of those at the end of every chapter, you'd be very tired of it very fast.
I'd be very yes.
But so with only one of them. Yeah. With only one of them, though, it was refreshing, right? I enjoyed it.
Big time.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Okay. Yeah, that's the way I felt about it as well. It's like it's not like
I was excited that I encountered it, and then it's something I still remember at the end of the game because, like you said, it didn't keep reoccurring. So you definitely remember that boss fight. You have the weapon the one time. You're fighting this boss at different stages. I thought it was really good.
I agree. Okay, chapter 5. Sorry, my shadow play has been acting up lately, and now I'm all paranoid it's constantly not recording anymore. So.
Oh yeah, no, I do that during my videos. I look over halfway through and it's like, am I recording?
Yeah, I'm like, oh fuck, Jesus Christ. Okay.
A couple drops where I didn't.
Yeah. So after you defeat Judge Norton and like stumble into the inn, it kicks you over to chapter 5, and Adam is finishing up with the Enigma machine, and he goes to call his boss. He's like super proud. He's like, man, I've made more progress than any of those guys, like right? Yeah. And he's like, the diary notes had helped him with that Enigma machine. So he's like, I gotta find more of these notes. Like, this is my thing. This is what I gotta do. I gotta find these diary notes, right? And so he goes to call his boss, and he's like interrupting, like it sounds like Russian agents on the line, right?
Oh, that's
remember
when the
that
picked up the other call. Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I interrupted 2 Russians talking on the phone. So he goes and tells Emma, and she's like, I didn't want to scare you or anything, but I've been seeing people outside the house. I'm like, dude, I swear to God, if my wife told me some shit like that, I would be like, baby, you are out of your freaking mind if you think I don't want to know about that.
Yeah. So, it's like, oh, I didn't want to worry you. I know you're a code breaker who's hiding from the Russians right now, but I think there's people in the woods watching us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No,
you are a shitty wife and just person in general, Emma.
You're not okay. Like, you're not okay. So anyways,
okay, we pregnancy throwing her off.
Yeah, exactly. So immediately Adam loses his goddamn mind though. And so he's got to start chasing this spy snooping around. So
that's when we go to the treehouse runs, right?
Yeah. And this is also when you first realize, like, you can't pick up anything as Adam, really. Like, there are very few exceptions to the rule, but generally, as Adam, you're not picking up documents. You're not
worth anything going off the rails for.
No, yeah,
because like anything you need as Adam, they give to you directly, like the quantum localizer or the flashlight I didn't use. You get that directly.
Yeah, and it's like
you don't have to go outside of the means of the game to try to find something that's going to help you.
If there's something that you can find with him, you have to find it as part of the main quest, essentially. Yeah. So that's when that chapter 5, watching your videos, is when you seem to notice that, and then. So exploring feels kind of worthless, even though this is when, as Adam, you really get more
That's when you
spread.
realize you can kind of push. You can push faster through the game as Adam.
Yeah, but also as
anything
Adam,
you're gonna drink up is gonna be on the rails.
The thing that's kind of contrarian about that is, as Adam, that's also where you get more like rope to like explore around. Like you have way more access to like run around the forest. You can go through the woods. You can go find caverns. Yeah, you can go find caverns. You can do all this stuff that you don't really do as Nicholas. But at the same time, as Nicholas, like exploration feels more rewarding because you're finding rewarded. Things.
Yeah. Like, what am I gonna do as Adam? Go into a fucking cave, and I'm just like, yep. Yeah. That's cave.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, chapter 5, a whole lot more quantum localizer investigating, and your pursuit eventually leads you to the ruins of the inn that's been burned down, where it last ended as Nicholas. And then also you find a safe that's in there, and this is where I had to look up something because I'm a moron. And literally, the puzzle tells you, like, you find like a notebook. And it says, like, something along the lines of the answer is not in this book, kind of thing. Like,
which means whatever is missing is the answer.
Which means every page has like every number except for one written in it, and there's 4 pages for 4 combinations to lock.
Instantly, by the way.
Yeah, like he it was like he wrote the thing. Like he understood it immediately, and I watched him and I was like, oh my god, it made me feel, I already felt stupid because once I looked up the answer I realized how dumb I was. But he honestly didn't struggle at all with that, let's put it that way.
I honestly thought there were 2 safes because I remember you telling me that you were struggling so hard with the safe, and I was coming up on the safe, and I'm like, okay, and I came up on the safe and I breezed through it, and I'm like, he must mean another safe completely. Because no one, and I mean no one, can get stuck on that.
You got to be some kind of moron to screw up on that. So he finds another journal entry, and then it kind of ends. And then you move on to chapter 6, which is Nicholas now inside the abandoned inn. So the inn has since stopped operating. It is no longer an operating inn. Yeah, most likely, right? So, like, his dad was a businessman who owned a mine and an inn. And so at this point, you know that his mine had fool's gold inside of it. And he would try and, like, trick people into, like, mining in there and mining for gold and finding pyrite. And then he had this inn. And so when you're exploring around, you hear about this guy, Walter Gilman, who's a private investigator who's trying to find the killer of Judge Norton. And like, then you find more about Nicholas's father. Once again, the stuff about the mine, about missing people, more about, and like his business partner, he obviously had some kind of falling out with his business partner who owned both of these business ventures with him. And like, this is where you really start to see that Nicholas is really finding it hard to distinguish the difference between reality and fiction. He is like outright seeing ghosts in the middle of this inn. Like, he finds an actual corpse in there as well. And you're like, okay, so is this corpse, he's been gone for 5 years, like the
janitor?
Yeah, no. Janitor, or like
the janitor,
essentially
the housekeeper.
The housekeeper. And so you're like, okay, at that point for me, I'm wondering, like, is this his actual corpse? Because he's been gone for 5 years. Like, his dad died 5 years ago, so this inn has been closed for at least 5 years. So I'm going, is this his actual corpse, or is this just another example of Nicholas being nutty? And I'm like, both options seemed viable. Yeah.
You can't put your thumb on one or the other and say, this is one. It's this one.
And so this is also when you start realizing, like, oh, Judge Norton died before his dad. Like, so it's like, this was a decade ago, like, basically, when Judge Norton died. So you're going, like, what is going on here? The end of this chapter where he gets spooked out of the inn is where you have that first real chase sequence with like the
That
ghosts like screaming at you and this haunted
huge
ass
gauntlet
fucking
run where you're going up and out and then around. There's a couple gauntlet runs in that hotel, in that inn. There's a couple of them. That's why it's my favorite chapter, because I was a big fan of the gauntlet runs, but also because just the environment they put into that inn was spectacular.
Also, they designed it cleverly, so where you're going in, like it feels like you're really, oh, I gotta go up to the 3rd floor, but it's like, or I have to go to the 2nd floor, but you kind of have to bypass the 2nd floor and go up to the 3rd floor and fall through the floor,
down,
and then you gotta get a
around,
key, and then so you can go on the west wing and like all that stuff.
Now you gotta go downstairs to the reception area.
And then there's that hallway too that's like chained off with like blood on the walls, like with scrawled like a beware kind of thing going on.
That's where they kept what's his name's brother.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to say Harvey Oswald, but that's not it. Who's the dude that shot Lincoln?
Lee, not Lee Harvey Oswald. Damn it! Now you got that in my head. Now you got that in my head. The fucking actor. What is his name? John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth. It's his brother that was in that. That was locked up in there, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
How they just intertied that.
So yeah, the end chapter was super well done. Again, you're at this point as the player, you're going like, all right, how much is this is real? How much of this is in his head, or is all of it real, or is all of it in his head? And you're like, so you're still trying to figure that out. So like once he escapes the inn, chapter 7 starts, and it's Adam leaving the inn, and he finds a campground with a map and notes from some campers. And like one of the notes, the first note you find, I thought was super cool. I don't know if you remember. I thought in hindsight, it's kind of like setting up the end of the game. I think remember, it was that guy who's like, he woke up and it wasn't his wife next to him. And he was like, oh my God. So he got up and then he went to go tell his son, like, dude, someone's pretending to be your mom in there. And he wakes up the boy, and it's not his son either. And so you're like, okay, is this the Russian spies, right? Or is this guy losing his mind?
I think that's the point where the not knowing what's real and what's not, what's hallucinations and what's not, that started to now it's forked, and you're playing that with both characters now. Yeah, and I really started to love that. I'm just like, well, what the fuck? What's what?
Because as Adam, at this point, I was taking everything for granted. I was thinking like, okay, as Adam, everything that I'm experiencing as Adam is really happening for sure.
That's what I thought.
And like, because you're like, he's finding bugs and like weird stuff around the house from the Russians. I'm like, clearly this is real. Like, he's a Russian codebreaker. Obviously, this is happening. They're onto him. But then this is the first chapter where I started to think like, okay,
maybe I'm losing it also.
Maybe he's just like Nicholas. Like, okay, maybe he's not like, okay, you know? So that was one of those precursors for me, was finding that note from the camper. And so this is like the most open-ended chapter. You can kind of, you find like a map with
exploring options.
Yeah, you get a map with like a bunch of coordinates on it.
I wish I'd opened that up sooner, because once you leave the area, you're asked out of the one treasure that's over there because you can't get back.
I did the exact same thing as you.
Oh,
literally
so
exact same thing as you. And I knew it was going to kill you inside once you did it. Because I was like, all right, you can't, I don't think you can get back to it once you do that.
I tried.
Yeah,
oh God, I tried.
I did the same thing. So basically, like, you have a map with a bunch of coordinates, and it's non-conventional treasure, because a lot of it is notes with backstory and stuff like that. So you found a couple I didn't. But the end of that is
the cabin?
You end up or actually, it's not even the end. It feels like it should be the end of the chapter, but it's not technically the end of the chapter. You find a cabin with a bunch of spy equipment. For me,
man,
that was my favorite. Out. That was my favorite part of the game. Like, because you have to.
Did you solve all the puzzles without looking them up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
That was after that safe. I gotta ask.
No. I love that. You had like the ink that you had to expose to the light.
Different lighting, the lighting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I had the same difficulties you did once you have the computer, because you think you already have the puzzle solved.
Yeah.
And then you have.
Let me just input this. Oh, wait.
However, I found something that I believe you didn't in there.
What's that?
Now, I deleted all my footage. And I didn't want to sort through a bunch of different people's footage. So I'm trying to go off of memory here. So I apologize for this ahead of time. But I found a note inside that cabin. And this is what tipped me off to what I believed was the true happenings in the game. There was a note from a Russian operative saying something along the lines of, "He's not on to us," signed like AS or something like that. Or he doesn't know it's me yet. That's what it said. It doesn't know. No. Right now he doesn't know it's me yet. But see, the thing is, again, I think this is setting you up for, you could believe one of two things. You could think, A, this is a Russian operative who's working with Emma. Or B, what I thought, literally from this point on, Adam has been doing all of these things. Adam is, this is all make-believe.
He's creating it.
He's creating all of this. He's lost his mind.
I went the other route. I 100% thought that, because what we're not talking about right now is during our exploration during this chapter, we see Emma in the woods. Did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you follow
100%.
her? And then you go and you see her grave with her name on it, and you're like, wait a minute. Clearly she's alive with us at the cabin. She is. She's there alive with us. She's pregnant. She's real. But she has the same name as a gravestone marker. I'm instantly right there. I was like, this motherfucker's a sleeper cell agent.
I'm like,
my wife was sleeper cell agent.
And meanwhile, I'm like, why the fuck is she out here, right? And then she disappeared,
why would they send
right?
my wife with me?
She disappeared, right? Fucking Adam is losing it. Like, Adam is losing it right now.
He's losing it, but also leading us to that grave where you see her name. I thought hallucinations. He's having them for sure, probably. But once I saw the gravestone, the grave marker, I was like, she's a sleeper agent.
This is literally exactly why I wanted to have this conversation with you.
That's 100% the moment I wanted to shoot her.
Okay.
If nothing else before, being a sleeper agent, that tipped the scales.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll get you on my bad side.
I gotta do a little
I've always said
work. I gotta cave some boxes, paint some walls. All right.
If you're one of my 100 subscribers and you're a sleeper agent, you know what? Go ahead and unsub. You know what I mean?
Listed.
That's where I draw the fucking line. All right.
Shit listed.
So yeah, basically, you go through, you find a cabin with all this like KGB, like Russian memorabilia.
Ruski stuff. Yeah,
it's
man.
very
Red Dawn
Russian.
shit.
It's very Russian. You solve a few really cool puzzles. Like, I really enjoyed that. Like, I thought it was a fun room. It was a puzzle room. I had a great time. Different. It was different than most games I played. Different than most puzzle type. In fact, in general, I would say the puzzles in this game, are pretty intricate. Like, but at the same time, like, are very solvable. I thought they were. I just thought they were good. I thought it was a good. Like, all of the puzzles were good, but this in particular, I was a big fan of. So you solve all these, and it leads you down into, like, the basement. It unlocks the basement of this cabin. Yeah. And so once you're in the basement, there's a lot of blood in there, and there's a body chained to the pipe.
Well, that's the sheriff.
It's the motherfucking sheriff that your wife had called.
The sheriff. Yeah, you didn't even mention the sheriff.
I didn't mention it. I'm sorry.
Wow, way to fucking get that
earlier in the chapter before.
To not know what the hell they're talking about.
So my bad, people. Guess what? A chapter before, your wife called the sheriff. Adam lost his mind because he's like, these Russians.
We can't have people.
These Russians, bro. You don't want the sheriff up in here.
All my work is in the next room, and you have people walking through here.
Meanwhile, I fucking grab a bat to move the trash cans at night. You know what I mean? I'm like, fucking bring the sheriff. You know what I mean? Like, fuck.
I'll wait till morning. I ain't moving shit.
Yeah. So you find this sheriff down there. So you're like, oh fuck, all right, so these motherfuckers murdered the sheriff, And then you find a note, and it's another diary entry from Nicholas on the table. And then it just kicks you straight into the next one. And you're like, but then at this point, again, I was going, why the fuck is this note here in this basement of this Russian, right?
Yeah.
And so
there's a dead body here. Let me leave this. Let me make sure there's a journal entry.
I understand why it would be there for a gameplay contrivance, but I gave the developers for this game enough credit to think, okay, nah, my boy's just crazy, dog. Like, I'm like, my boy's just nutty. Like, so
maybe what could have happened is he was maybe trying to look for an exit or something. He's trying to look for an exit.
He planted it.
He's
trying to reveal the truth to himself. That's what I think. So, anyways,
it's like when you walk in. It's like when you're playing Tomb Raider, and then you go. They're like, "Oh, this cave hasn't been, a couple thousand years," and you go, fucking lit candles everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's those Aztec candles, bro. Those are the good shits. Like, you don't want to mess around with those Aztec candles.
Yeah, man. You light it once, never again.
They had one birthday, and they just reused the bitch for 1,000 years. You know what I mean?
And the way they had advanced weaponry also down there, like, it's like, oh my god, fucking rifle bullets, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So then this is when you're kicked back to Nicholas, and he's outside of the mine, and there's notes directing you how to get through the labyrinth. There was like one of the men that his father had cheated, like, into convincing there was gold in the mine, and he got lost down there, and he's like, I solved the puzzle, but now I'm terrified because basically there's ghosts of these miners down here, and I lost my nerve. And he's surviving on rat carcasses. And so this is basically when you play that red light, green light game, where you're basically following the path to the green lanterns to make sure you're traveling the right way. It's really, I thought it was really cool. How did you feel about it?
I loved it. I love the caves very much. I thought it was going to be a little more difficult when they added the sentry elements of the creatures, but it was really well done. They had certain patterns that you can go around and stuff like that. I thought
it was done well enough to where you had a hindrance, like you had like a creature kind of blocking your way, so you had to figure out a smart way to maneuver past them.
All you do is look at the map and you're like, I could go around this way, then come back in here.
But it also was not a complete pain in the ass to where you weren't doing the same part over and over again. Like, which is to me a positive. That's to me a net benefit. So
once I saw the map layout and I understood what they wanted from me, I was like, fuck, if I get stuck replaying this, it's gonna really take me out of the game, take me out of my enjoyment. But once you get going, you're excited to be there, you're excited to avoid the sentries, you have to pick up some clues, and then you're running around, you're like, oh shit, you look on the wall, you're like, okay, this way, and you just fucking go, and it goes really smooth.
Yeah, I agree. And then so fucking shrouded in darkness over here, like motherfucking someone's on you, bro. Someone
did something.
Someone fucked with your lantern, bro.
I'm spamming
at the end, once you get past the maze portion, this is where you discover Walter Gilman, that private. Back. Oh shit. Okay. All right. Oh my god. His chair is shrouded by the Force. Whoa, fuck! Oh, dude! Whoa! All right.
Jesus ain't got shit on me, boy. Water to wine. I create light, motherfucker. And it's all the wrong settings.
So, once you get done with the mazes, you find Walter Gilman, that private investigator that was like basically he was like trying to find out. All these notes are basically saying like he's trying to figure out what really happened. There was a mine collapse in your father's mine that killed people. There's someone, Judge Norton disappeared, and he's like, someone's responsible for this.
Missing people from the inn.
Yeah, like your father collected money. Your father collected money from like the mine insurance from it like collapsing, and he's like, dude, like, so the private investigator was on to him, and so you find the corpse of this private investigator. Yeah, and you poke around and you find the corpse of the private investigator, and he is still alive, and he's pissed. Also, he might have like the spirit of Saruman inside of him or something. He's got like ghost powers, and so this is wherein you have
freezing powers, man.
Yeah, you have instead of a boss fight, you have kind of like a gauntlet involving like maneuverability, like you're dodging the wind and trying to stay safe from his onslaught.
You're moving with moving pieces and getting around
and
stuff.
you eventually get up close to him, and just when you think he's gonna get you, because you have, at this point, you don't have the gun anymore, you don't have any means of protection.
Yeah.
And you were saved by the beast in the top hat, and at this point you were convinced.
No, we hit him with the pickaxe.
Yeah, but he was cool with that.
Oh, I'm not saying it didn't do its job. But
at this point though, you were convinced the man with the top hat was his father, Nicholas's father.
That's very much what they push into you.
I was of the same mind at that point.
At that point, I was about 75 to 80% like, it's my dad, because they've also been talking about,
because you stopped being scared of him.
Things.
You stopped being scared of him because you've seen him. Well, you were never scared of him, but I mean, like, you were stopped being fearful of him hurting you, because you at this point
he saved
have
you in
seen,
the end.
Yeah,
when you started going nuts on you, that fool went.
Oh, that's right. At the end of
on Judge Norton.
I didn't even bring that up. At the end of the Judge Norton fight, he basically finishes the job for you. And so now, and then you saw him. Plus, you saw him down in the cellar to chase Judge Norton out, and he was kind of ignoring you.
Yeah.
So you've now seen him several times, encountered him several times, and he's got malice in his heart. But not seemingly for you.
Not for you, man. Yeah.
So you and I both were like, okay, this has got to be his father. It's like his alter ego. Yeah. And so eventually the chapter ends as the man with the top hat tells you to finish what you started. So in other words, I took that at that time as, I got to figure out what happened.
I got to finish the investigation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, after that, it kicks back to Adam, and he's like all of a sudden in a pit of the bottom of a well.
It's a well, yeah.
Chained to the sheriff's body. And it's like
headless body.
Headless body. Noted. And so you were just in that basement of that, so you don't know how you got there. And so
blacked out.
And so you find a saw and you chop off the sheriff's hand, and then you have to escape.
It was a Rambo knife?
It was a Rambo knife, that's right.
Did you play the game?
It was a tactical
How
knife.
am I remembering this?
Okay, well,
I don't remember shit.
Those details were trivial to me. I cut off the dude's hand. That was the more important part of the story to me.
The Rambo knife.
So you escape, and you get out and you return to the house. Emma's like, dude, you've been gone for X amount of hours. This is basically, he keeps being like, baby, shit's crazy right now. It's crazy. See ya. And then taking off every time. Yeah. Like he just leaves her alone.
Shit's really fucked up right now. People are watching the house. People are looking for me.
You know that guy you called to protect you?
Yeah.
And that she even asked him, I haven't seen the sheriff. What's happened to the sheriff? He's like, baby, I don't know. He could be anywhere. I don't know.
He could be anywhere. I haven't seen him. Was there even a cop here?
Was there a sheriff here? I don't know. This sheriff. I heard shit about a sheriff, all right?
Yeah.
And so...
Ours outside still.
Yeah, exactly. So then you go outside and you go investigate the sheriff's... vehicle parked in front of your house, and in that vehicle you find a lighter with Lennon's head on it.
There were police reports.
Then you find the police reports and all this evidence that Adam is in fact related to Nicholas. He is a distant relative way down the line. And so basically the police reports are saying crazy stuff happened to this house in the past, and now crazy stuff's happening again. But you find this lighter with Lennon's head, and you find a picture of something inside his study. And so you have two conflicting thoughts. Number one, obviously, KGB agent, you're like, dude, why would a random sheriff have a Lennon's head lighter?
Yeah.
And then the other part of you is like, why would he have this picture of something inside my house? But it could just be him investigating, that they broke into my study, right? Like, so you're like,
Oh,
was this reasonable?
I thought they bought off the cop.
Oh yeah, no.
I was like, this
towards the
motherfucker's on with
very end of the game, you were like, no, she's an agent. Like, you never stop believing that.
The walls are closing in. Like, I got my guns ready.
I'm trying to sell it. I'm trying to set it up for the random like for the discovery. Okay, so basically you have those two thoughts. So you go back in, you solve another what I believe to be great puzzle with the fireplace in his study where you had like the years on that little compass.
I saw it early on. I was like,
too.
this is something, but you couldn't fuck with it. You couldn't fuck with it yet. So
well, you didn't have the secondary piece.
Yeah,
you didn't have the secondary piece that you needed to work with it. So eventually, basically, you do a few puzzles inside a study, and it leads to the hidden room where Nicholas was abused as a child.
Dude, that's a torture chamber, man.
Oof. Then you find his notes.
Up. Ooh,
you find his notes, and then you find basically what leads you to believe that he was not only locked up there alone, but he might have had a brother up there with him.
Yeah. Because his dad fucked around.
Yeah. And that like there are diary notes from Nicholas about the other boy in the room with him. And so you're like, fuck, okay.
I took that one as later on you discover what happened to the brother a bit, but I 100% thought that the brother, the illegitimate child, the bastardess child, was kept in that room
full time.
And Nicholas was. I thought that's what
and his punishment was that he had to be put in there with him.
Sent up there to. It's like that episode of the Treehouse of Horrors when Bart has that twin that's in the attic.
Oh yeah,
He's
exactly.
The evil one, and then they just fucking switcheroo. At that point, I thought maybe one day Nicholas went up, and then his brother came down impersonating him or something. There's so many things to pull from. It was really good. I'm sorry, go on.
No, agreed. And he refers like when you read those documents too. The one last thing I'll say about this before you end the Adams chapter is that in those journal entries, like it has kind of both of them talking, and the other, you kind of get an idea that the other boy is in charge of all the mischief because he refers to Nicholas as N in the journal. So I was
Nicholas
like, oh
kept
shit,
catching all those beatings because of what the other boy was doing too.
Exactly. So then after you discover that, it goes to chapter 10 where basically Walter was set up to meet a woman named Maria, who's the woman who is disgruntled about her husband dying in the mine. She basically just wanted a little kickback from the father to take care of her, and he refused to pay it. So she was like, I'm gonna spill the beans on your whole thing. I know who did all this bad shit. And so Walter went to meet up with her and never made it for some reason. So you basically start off in the swamp, and then you have some gauntlet runs that we discussed earlier that were good ideas, but it's just executed poorly because of the mechanics.
The swamp area could have been cut in half also. It
made it a slog.
It dragged on a little bit.
Well, I feel like if you just had to click buttons to do things, you could do it in half the time and it would be way more enjoyable. Like everything is just kind of, you're like, I need to throw a rock, click, drag it back, throw it. Like,
and then you got to wait because if you throw it and whatever's in the water starts to go, the minute you hit the water, it turns back immediately.
I'm not a fan of stealth in most things. And the reason why I hate stealth is because what stealth usually means is fucking waiting.
It's a long waiting game.
You kind of have to do a little bit of that in that first segment of the swamp. And I also, that it just, but again, I feel like I probably wouldn't have the same complaints if it weren't for the controls. Like I probably would bother me a lot less if it weren't for the controls. Yeah. So you eventually get through the swamp, the plague of the swamp, and then you make it to this creepy ass fucking house in the middle of the swamp. And Maria is, she's like the cat lady from The Simpsons in there, like making crazy ass noises and stuff. Whoever that voice actress was fucking amazing.
Did your game spawn multiple Marias, or was that just mine?
No, that was yours. Mine didn't do that. That was fucking terrifying.
There's at least two of them wandering around, and there was 3 sets of voices by the end. It
I
was
would
so
be able
cool
to,
though. It was so cool. Like
that
I
would
was like,
fuck me
oh
up.
man.
But so basically, you have to discover she has essentially diary entries, right? And you have to find all her diary entries and then escape her house in
to
this
help
chapter.
you along, because that's the stuff she's going to show.
But
to
the
Walter,
entire time, she's just muttering to herself and just
strutting
like
around the house, and you have to get a key from her. Oh god,
her voice actress was incredible. Like I loved her. Like and by
job.
loved her, I mean I fucking hated her. She was nightmare fuel. But she did a fantastic job, and I loved it. I loved what they did with that. So eventually you escape, and you learn that, you know, she alludes to the brother you just learned about in the Adam chapter being the beast, the bastard of the family, did all this bad shit. And it ends as Nicholas kind of murders her, but she was clearly dead already. So you're
she
like...
was seaweed.
Yeah, she was already the crypt keeper, so it's kind of hard to say. You're like, again,
and then you look up and you see the beast right there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of gets she gets drowned in the swamp to end it, but you're like, wait a second, you know, are you reliving the past? Is this how she died in the past?
That's what I kind of thought.
You know, and so that's eventually what I came to realize, or what I came to think. But at that time, you don't know, right? So then at the end of that,
the beast had already been there, and that's how he did it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I think now. That's what I believe now, because she was a loose end. But at that moment, when you're playing that, you still don't know. You're like, is he just tripping? Like what? You know what? So now you move straight from there, and you start in chapter 11 as Adam submerged in the sheriff's car, and he has to escape. Remember, he's like in the water.
No, you don't start out like that. You come to, and you're at the wheel of the sheriff's car, headed towards a fucking cliff.
Yeah.
My first thought was, why am I at the wheel? How did I get at the wheel? I'm not tied up. I'm at the wheel. And that's when things started to get, for me.
Yeah. So you have to. So
no one's gonna black me out and put me at a wheel.
So you crash into the water, and you have to break out of the car, and then you drive out. You swim out or whatever, and it's
getting up on the shoreline.
And now it's fully night, even in Adam's timeline, and there are blood trails in the house leading to the basement. And so basically, this is the first time as Adam we've been able to discover the hidden room that was down in the basement that we found the beast. That we found the beast attacking Judge Norton in Nicholas's timeline. We finally discover that as Adam. And so this is a very brief chapter, but basically inside there, we find Adam's tape recorder in a pool of blood. And the chapter kind of ends, and you're like, why would this is the first that I know of Adam being down here. So why is his tape recorder down here?
I kept thinking Emma was just moving my shit around and fucking with me.
Yeah. And so you were still Team Spy, everything, right?
Big time. But that's what was so great, because you're being pulled in so many different directions. You don't really know. You can't 100% say this is going on, that's going on. You're being pulled in so many different directions that you tend to lose your speculation of certain things, and they did a great job of it.
So then immediately after that, so now we go on to chapter 12, and Nicholas tracks down the masked man into a cave where he finds Judge Norton chained up by the villain. And so basically Nicholas' father, he's like you're behind some like wood, and you can see into the cave. Yeah, you can see into the cave, and you see basically a flashback of like Nicholas' father finding Judge Norton, and he's like, hey, look, I know we've had bad times, but I'm gonna take care of you. Let me get you out of here. We'll talk about what happened. So he starts unchaining him, and then Nicholas's father. When we say his father,
we mean his actual father, not in beast mode,
not in beast form, just his actual father.
We've been calling him his father the whole time, but no, it's his actual father. Went down into the mine to get the judge.
And so then, right as he goes to leave, boom, machete to the dome. The beast doesn't like that shit. So he takes care of Nicholas's
And
father,
the beast
and
is now
then
not
takes
our father.
yeah, and immediately and if you had any doubts until this point, they have been removed. He is not the father.
Not
Maury
the
Povich,
father. Maury
very
Povich came
excited,
out.
very excited. So the beast takes care of Nicholas's father and the judge, and then walks away. So then you go into the tunnel, and he's like, "What?" Yeah. So now, really, Nicholas is just torn up. He's just can't figure out what's going on, like, and basically, he eventually has to travel up into the hidden room where he remembers the dark figure first coming to him, and this is where the truth of the story is revealed to you, in that if essentially Nicholas is the dark figure in the room. He is both parties. He had a psychotic break, and
His father beat him into two people.
And so he was accused of all these terrible things. There were like his father had accused him of scaring all the people in the inn. That he was running
in the hotel.
Yeah, he was running through the hallways in the middle of the night, and he's like, "No, father, it wasn't me." But it was him. It was just that the dark psyche had taken control.
Yeah, he was at the wheel.
And so basically the masked man was Nicholas all along. So it's just that Nicholas at no point really realized that he was the one doing these things. He felt it was this other party doing these things. So he felt he was being truthful when he said he wasn't accountable for these things.
He was also gone for 10 years out the psychiatric ward, wasn't he? Repressing the hell out of his life because of all the traumatic events that happened around him.
And then also amongst these repressed memories is Nicholas returning to the inn and burning the inn down. Subsequently, after all these events, this is him returning to his town. That is when he burned down the inn. So when you return to the inn in Adam's timeline, the inn is burned down. But that didn't happen when the original events took place. That happened upon his return.
That was Nicholas' return.
Yeah. So basically, this other entity he refers to as Jacob. No, sorry. His father is named Jacob. That's right. So basically, in his memory, the chapter ends because he's confronting his father Jacob and at the inn and having to basically run away from him, and he sets the place on fire. But he's really, we know as the player, his father's gone. Like, he's just losing his marbles.
He's just running around setting shit on fire.
You know, so we know that.
Which
obviously
is another great gauntlet run.
Yeah, another great gauntlet run.
So good.
So as he escapes the burning down inn, we move on to chapter 13. And now they do a clever thing where they flicker between Adam and Nicholas. Mm-hmm. So you're in the basement of the house, and you're taking a part of both people. So like it'll flicker, like he's looking, you'll hear Emma in the distance and Adam's shouting her name, and then all of a sudden you'll be Nicholas with a lantern, and then flicker back to Adam. And so eventually Nicholas basically has to face the beast, his other half
inside. The beast inside, not within.
Not within him. It's inside of him. All right?
It's inside of him.
And so essentially the beast makes a claim. Essentially, these people that I killed were all wicked. The judge was taking bribes from his father.
Yeah.
He was a bad man. His father, clearly an evil man. Even though
partner was skimming, right?
Yeah, like they were skimming money. Yeah, he was skimming money off his bit. That they're bad people. And so, but the thing is, his father was not a murderer. His father was he's
a dickbag.
He was a horrible person.
He's a terrible father.
But he was not a murderer. So, but the beast is basically saying, I did these things to make the world a better place. Like, I'm a necessary evil. And so at this point, you are given the choice.
What do they call
And
it? Anti-hero?
you can deny your evil personality, or you can just accept your true nature. Okay? And this is the end of Nicholas's playthrough. And I'll go through how those choices play out. Then after that, you're taken to Adam.
You're taking to Emma.
Yeah, Emma, excuse me. Emma is tied up in a basement, and she's being interrogated for being a Soviet spy.
By a Ruski.
And
Was it by a Ruski?
Yeah, and she eventually realizes that the man in the darkness interrogating her using a strange voice is actually Adam. And so
her husband.
So you, now in control of Adam, can choose to either A, kill Emma for being a Soviet agent, or B, kill himself. And so then, so those are your two options as Adam, your first options. So let's go on Nicholas's choices. So if you choose to deny the evil personality as Nicholas, you get a flashback at the very post-credit sequence of Nicholas sitting on the porch, being an old man, just sitting on his front porch, reading the paper, kind of like laying low, but he kind of gives an ominous message of basically history's doomed to repeat itself. Like he beat the evil inside of him, but it's doomed to be passed on. In other words, as a precursor, Adam, his distant relative, will eventually have the same problems he does.
You keep saying relative. Wasn't he a direct descendant?
Yeah, direct descendant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Like he was just straight bloodline through through Nicholas.
So now, if you chose to accept his true nature, it basically ends as Nicholas dons his cap and mask and pulls his machete out of a tree, ready to get some killing done, son. And it gives you the end ? Will there be a sequel? I don't know. So those are the Nicholas choices, and those are pretty cut and dry. Like,
what'd you go with?
I went with deny originally.
You went with deny?
Yeah.
I accepted. I was like, man, like he already told it to me. We knew what was going on. I was like, I'm not gonna bullshit a bullshitter. I accepted it.
I went along the lines of, as Nicholas, if I'm role-playing as Nicholas, the truth has just been revealed to me, so I now understand what's going on. I can now face it. So that's why I chose to deny it, because I now have the facts. I'm no longer denying my past and blanking that out. I now know what happened, and so I can just choose to turn this evil personality away. But however, the other option, equally admissible, right? And then,
I had fun with it.
So then now as Adam, if you choose to kill yourself, let's do Emma first. You choose to kill Emma. You choose to kill Emma. You wake up an unknown amount of time later, and you're in a mental hospital, or what seems to be one, and you're being interrogated about what happened by a doctor. And the doctor is basically saying, bro, you killed your wife. and so you can...
She wasn't a Russian.
Yeah, she wasn't a Russian. You lost her mind, and you just killed your wife. And so you can...
And her baby.
Now, again, you can have two options. You can choose A, I did everything. I'm at fault. I need to take responsibility for what I've done. I need to face up to it. And in this ending, essentially, Adam starts to remember, and he remembers planting bugs around his house, and he remembers setting up things, and like basically all these events happen because he was setting up his own fantasy in this choice. The other option is you could say, nah, she was KGB, dog. Like shit, I had to get done. And so the doctor says, man, that's a shame. That is an absolute shame. We got to get him an electrotherapy. And they start to brain you, and he just grabs the doctor by the throat, and you hear the voice of the beast as he tells him, like, so basically the cycle continues if you choose that option. Now, what I believe as the good ending or whatever would be Adam chooses to kill himself. And the reason why I consider that to be the good ending is because the bloodshed ends there. Yeah. His wife survives. She's able to have a baby.
She's pregnant. It still might carry on.
But the seed carries on. But, however, I just think that's the... So
that's the one you chose? You chose to kill yourself?
No, I didn't. I chose to
murder your wife.
To murder Emma, because honestly, I just wanted to see it.
Dude, I'll be honest. I wanted to kill her the entire game so badly, but then when it came to it, like, my own personal sense of morality came in, and like when I'm faced with those things, I can't really do it.
I know. I never can, but I did it. But then I fessed up to it. I owned it. That was my ending. I owned it. I wore it on my sleeve.
Wait a fucking
I murdered her, but I was like, you know what? Probably shouldn't have done that. Those may be a little bit crazy.
Whoopsie daisy.
So in the end, what I think they were trying to do, this is my speculation, is that they were trying to make all possibilities equally possible. So you were not wrong in thinking she's a KGB agent. She was, because you believe she was, and so if you choose that ending, you chose that to be true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, for people like me, like, Nicholas, this entire time, he's reliving all these horrible things, and he's seeing what he did and coming to terms with it. And so whether or not in the end he chooses to continue or deny his true nature, he now at least has fully accepted what's happened. You know what I mean? And then Adam is finding these diary entries, and I feel like he's leaving breadcrumbs to himself. Like, these are breadcrumbs of, like, this is what's actually happening to you, Adam. Like, pull it together kind of thing. And so, like, as he discovers about Nicholas, he's also kind of discovering about himself. Like, or he could be, should he so choose to, right? Because you have to choose in the end, and that's the same as Adam choosing. Adam is choosing to understand what's happening to himself.
Later on, you realize it's a bit fucky that it was shown so early on in the Enigma codes.
Yeah.
Because when he wakes up and all the diaries from the past are somehow being unlocked into information from the Enigma codes, right there, he's already leaving breadcrumbs for him. He's setting himself up to play his own game.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right there.
Precisely. But I feel like they did it cleverly in that, like, I mean, obviously, I feel like most of the breadcrumbs... Did you pick up on
the last names of it?
No.
Hyde?
Oh, yeah. Dr.
Jekyll, Mr. Hyde? The split personalities?
Yes.
Okay.
But I just think they did it really great because, like I said, they made it to where no one's definitively wrong.
You're never exactly sure.
Yeah.
On anything in that game. I was bouncing back and forth constantly, talking my theories out loud.
I mean, there's constant breadcrumbs all over the place in any given direction, but once again, the cycle continues. Because even if, like you said, even if Adam decides to take his own life, it doesn't really end because she's pregnant. So, it will continue. The bloodline continues, and the problems will continue.
Oh yeah.
That is depending on your view of how deterministic that bloodline is. You know what I mean? Like,
and also is
like,
does the child have to be, or the child or the person have to be abused for it to expose itself? Like, because it gives Nicholas's backstory where he was beaten to a split. It doesn't say if Adam was abused growing up.
Yeah, and the same thing, like you said, he's setting up his own game with the Enigma machines. Like, you're never definitively given the backstory. Everything of Adam's backstory you're given is given to you from him.
Maybe
You
it
don't
was
have,
the stress
you know
of
what I
his
mean?
job that broke him.
But you don't even know if that's his real job. You know what I mean?
Very true.
You only
Oh,
know
yeah.
that from him. That's all the information you're given about Adam, you're given to him from him. And he's, as far as I'm concerned, an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
Oh yeah. Check your sources. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and okay, so yeah, those are the endings. Let's just put the elephant in the room. This game doesn't have a chapter select with multiple endings.
Does not. But we talked about this a little, and there's only a few chapters you can actually go back to that. Only the ending chapters you can go back to where you will actually change something, or going back to the map chapter where you can go a little more.
That just makes, but that's the thing. That just makes it that much more egregious to me that you wouldn't have a chapter select, because now you got to play over episodes that are going to go exactly the same way.
Yeah, very true. And we talked about having 4 different ways earlier about
and then plus,
didn't do that.
Like, obviously Nicholas, you only have 2 different choices for his ending, but there are essentially 4 for Adam. Like, and if you want to see all those, so both of us just took the route of looking up the other endings on YouTube, which is to me just sad, because it's like, I would have played those last chapters over again and made this decisions for myself. I would have gone back and I would have found all those treasures, but it's like, I don't want to play the whole game over again just to do those things. And you feel the same way as I do. And so they got us to play less of their game by having that decision. And so I hope that they reconsider doing something like that for future. I mean, there's
the next game coming out set in London, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, look. Okay, so we both agree that chapter select was a fail, but as a game, it was clear overall watching your gameplay series.
Big win. A lot of this, because I'm not good with scary games at all. Like, it takes a big toll on me to play, but this one, I got it done in a couple days, I think, which for me is above and beyond.
You're usually forcing yourself to play scary games for our benefit, so we can watch you suffer. Like, you could just say it that way, because that's the truth.
But this
you
game,
were into this game.
I loved it. I loved it because of all the different directions it pulls you, and the night and the day, the lock picking mechanics, all the different things. Not having a super finite amount of resources. This thing just checked a lot of boxes that I enjoy when I want to play a game. I kept coming back for the story, the environment, the voice acting, the sound design. The layout design of the inn is probably one of my favorites. It felt very Dark Souls with the way I was going around things, and I just go into the room and be like, oh, I know where I am. I thought it was a great game, aside from the chapter select and the wonky control sometimes. I love that there was a fucking jump button. I'll tell you that much. Fucking love it when there's a jump button.
Dude, I know. It's fucking preposterous when there isn't. Especially when they use the level design. They'll put like a hedge in front of you and they won't give you a jump. You're like, okay, like even an 80-year-old man could get past this.
It's even worse when there's a hedge in front of you and you can't make the jump.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
no. I'm saying you're allowed to jump, but you can't do it.
Yeah. No, I feel like this game, number one, I was impressed. Like, okay, I grew up in the age of Nintendo.
The character models. The character models were a little...
Okay, the environments were much better.
The way Emma looked and moved looks like the people from the
she looks like a
old,
mannequin that came to life.
It looks like the old animations from fucking Gumby and Pokey, man.
Yeah.
Like, it looked hot ass.
Yeah, the character models, it reveals the budget of the game, but the environments were like excellent. And like
they knew where to put the focus.
When you were in those caves and there was that waterfall, I stopped there for like 30 seconds and just appreciated it. I was like, man, this looks fucking good, man.
Really good.
And then, like I said, I thought about this story. Like, I appreciated the story. Like, I make jokes interpersonally with you, like, about how you're gameplay mechanics focused and I am story focused.
I am very tunnel vision.
But
Like
I feel
also
like you
clicking stuff
appreciated
right
this
press goes away.
story more than most
Oh, I
games you
did.
play. At
100%,
least I
100%.
feel that way
I
from
got
the
very
outside looking
involved
in.
in the story. You know, normally I do a lot of like witty comments and banter and shit like that about characters we're running into, but this one I was keeping track of people's names, of their jobs, of like the times they were last seen. Like I was really paying attention, and it wasn't forced upon me. It was just I was naturally involved in the story, which was really great.
Yeah. So like I said, in the end, I think both of us can agree. It's an enjoyable game that we'd recommend. Granted, this is a
Oh
complete
yes,
spoilers discussion, so I'm pretty sure we just ruined the game for anyone watching this who hasn't played it. But
that's their own
nonetheless,
goddamn fault.
but nonetheless, if you
I
are
recommend it to
one of those
everybody.
people, if you are one of those people that watch the whole thing without playing it, I'd still recommend you play it. It's still a good
Yeah,
game.
it's
And then tell me if you've beaten it, and you agree or disagree with what we had to say or whatever. Leave comments.
before I played it, I was reading not spoilers about it, but reviews and stuff like that, and a lot of people loved it. A lot of people loved it, recommended it. But then there's people who were like, "Oh, it's just a jump scare. It's just a jump scare game the whole time." And at no point did I feel that the jump scares were overdone. They waited till you were into a nice sense of ease, and then you're
And
like, "All right,
crushed you with it.
here it comes." No, but you even when you thought it was gonna happen, like
They'd
you're
set you
tightening up,
up.
your abs are getting formed, and like you're like, and nothing happens. You're like, "Oh, not
Once,
a pro."
as
And
soon
you're
as
just
you
like,
exhale, yeah.
yeah.
Um, like I said, I just wanted to do. Honestly, we chatted on this a long time, and I appreciate your time. This once again, this is my friend natow plays games. I'll link him in the description. I wanted to talk about this game because we both played it and I enjoyed it. And sorry, I'm like I didn't really know how to do this, so I just basically hopped on a Discord call with my buddy and just said like, let's talk about it. We were going kind of off the cuff. It's been a minute since both of us beat this game, but
I
we
played it
tried to
about a
find
month
it.
ago,
Yeah, but we
so
tried to
I've
find
had
a
like six
time.
games in between that.
So we didn't set it up and give you like a crazy long delivery for every blow by blow. We missed some stuff, but this is just kind of us trying to go off the cuff and just talk about things we liked, talk about the story, just do a spoiler discussion, have a good time, you know? So if you appreciate it, thank you. If you didn't appreciate it, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I don't aim to please. Ask the
I'm
ladies.
sorry. I'm sorry. I have a face cam for however long this video is going to be, because that's like, you don't deserve that. I'm sorry, people. Like, I just look like this all the fucking time. So thanks again for stopping by. Thank you to natow Plays Games. And
Thank you for having me, brother.
yeah, appreciate it. Take care.